Eventually, he scores the winning run.
All right, so he has been something, that's for sure. The Mariner pitching has also been outstanding. And tonight, 12-game winner Aaron Seeley takes the mound. But up against the Cleveland lineup, all the guys who've been hurt are back, including Juan Gonzalez, who's got 95 RBIs, Jim Thome, who leads the league in homers, Roberto Alomar, who leads the league in batting average, and Ellis Burks is back from an injury as well.
Well, the problem for them, though, has been their starting pitching. If they get decent starting pitching, John, they can win ball games. But that did not happen in the first half when they got beat up. But the second half has been a different story. Colon and Sabathia have been better. Good news, Chuck Finley due off the disabled list later on this week. But the key to their second half is tonight's starting pitcher, Dave Burba. If history is any example, Burba's been a great pitcher during the second half.
All right, so a special day in baseball, the Hall of Fame inductions. We've got some great players on display here tonight, including Ichiro and the Mariners, Jim Thome, who just had an incredible month of July and his 34 homers. Baseball coming up.
ESPN Deportes está aquí. Ahora ESPN es en español. Los domingos por la noche no se pierda Major League Baseball. Y muy pronto la NFL y boxeo. ESPN Deportes. Los domingos a las 7:30. This is ESPN Classic.
This ESPN Classic program is brought to you by Lotramin. Get the cure that's proven to kill athletes' foot on the whole foot. Lotramin AF, the killer cure.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. Better than he was before. Better, stronger, faster.
Introducing the all-new 270-horsepower Chevy Trailblazer, the most powerful mid-size sport utility in the world. It's one strong SUV. The new 2002 Chevy Trailblazer, like a rock.
Like a lot of people, we have some credit card debt. We always made our payments, but then the transmission went.
Another $1,200 on my credit card.
We didn't have a choice.
I had to get to work.
Our rent went up, and then Debbie needed braces.
We started getting calls from people looking for their money.
It wasn't just our credit rating that we were worried about.
It was our whole life. We got the help we needed from Cambridge Credit Counseling. They understood that we didn't want another loan.
We wanted to get out of debt.
Cambridge Credit Counseling is a non-profit service. They'll work with you and your creditors to reduce your monthly payments. It's a fresh start.
Now we don't have to cringe
Hello?
every time the phone rings.
We have one simple monthly payment that we can handle.
And since we're paying promptly, we get money back from Cambridge every 6 months.
We can breathe again.
We feel good about ourselves.
Give Cambridge Credit Counseling a call. Find out how good it feels to be debt-free.
Kenny Mayne is in training.
Wicked cool.
Kenny Mayne has entered the Pemmican Ultimate Baseball Road Trip Sweepstakes and may go to 2 baseball games in 2 cities in 1 day.
Let's do lunch. Let's do lunch. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, sure. Howdy, ma'am. Hey, I'm walking here. Chicago.
Think you can survive 2 games in 2 cities? Log on to espn.pemmican.com for your chance to win. Then watch baseball tonight at 10 nightly, only on ESPN.
You're watching ESPN Classic.
Now batting, Mark McGwire.
In-depth stats on where they hit them and everything else baseball straight from the source. MLB.com. Connect with it.
You're watching an instant classic, the Mariners and the Indians from August 5th. A Cleveland comeback for the ages right here on ESPN Classic.
Welcome back to Sunday Night Baseball from Jacobs Field in Cleveland. Sunday Night Baseball is also available nationwide on the ESPN radio network. Now, coming up tonight, Aaron Seeley will explain his devastating curveball, and Rick Sutcliffe has further analysis. And Edgar Martinez explains why Ichiro's unusual swing is so effective. And tonight, we continue with the Sunday Night Baseball exclusive, the K-Zone, creating a 3D virtual strike zone. Crosshairs activate to where the pitch enters the zone, demonstrating the strategy between pitcher and batter. And that's all coming up tonight on Sunday Night Baseball, as well as updates throughout the night on the Cubs-Dodgers game airing over on ESPN2. And here's the Nextel batting order for the Seattle Mariners, turned in by manager Lou Piniella, with Ichiro at the top of the order, and McLemore, and then the two All-Pros.
Yeah, the 3 and 4 guys, Lou Piniella says he can be an American League manager and sit back and watch. But with everybody else, he says, I try to put the game in motion. We try to stay away from the ground ball double play, create RBI opportunities for those two guys in the heart of the lineup.
And speaking of RBIs, the leading RBI producer, Brett Boone, is not in the lineup, just getting a night off for the first time in 2.5 months. And there's veteran Dave Burba, who is 9-8, but look at that ERA. He has struggled.
Yeah, you know, he was 8-2 on June the 9th, so that tells you how things have gone for Dave Burba since then. But he's been terrific in the second half throughout his career, well over 500 as a second-half pitcher. The Indians are hoping for the same.
And we get started. The first pitch just off the outside to Ichiro. Ichiro, 4 hits in 10 at-bats in this series. 332 batting average. And that, again, misses. So the count is 2-0. Ichiro does not often walk. Only 19 walks all year. And that is in there for a called strike. 2 balls and a strike to count. Ichiro doesn't get many walks because he's always getting hits. He has 160 base hits. #1 in all of Major League Baseball. He got the inside corner. 2-2 the count.
Mike Cameron telling me before the game that Ichiro is just so in control of his emotions. Very few peaks and valleys.
That's foul on the third base side. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes. A beautiful night here in Cleveland, near the shores of Lake Erie. 78 degrees, the game time temperature. Temperatures got up near 90 degrees on the lakefront today. 2-2 count. Goes to the inside. Strike 3 called.
Burba knew on the previous pitch when Ichiro was able to control the fastball just off the outside corner, there's got to be a hole in there somewhere. Well, he found it on the inside part of the plate. He caught the top of the K zone and picks up a very big out when you consider the guy he got out is leading the league in runs scored.
And Ichiro, who was always up there hacking, did not hack there and got called out. Almost a perfect pitch from Burba's standpoint as Mark McLemore takes a strike.
And you saw the emotion part that Cameron was talking about with Ichiro. He struck out, no big deal. Come back, put the bat in the rack, sets his helmet down, and grabs a seat. Cameron says that Ichiro acts the same way whether he makes an out or he hits a home run. Just knows how to play the game of baseball.
That is a temperament that you'll see up and down this Seattle ball club. 0-2 the count to Mark McLemore, just off the outside. Now McLemore is hitting .294. He's got a .385 on-base average, 29 stolen bases. Tonight he's at second base with Brett Boone getting the night off. There's a splitter and he swung at it. Strike 3. Tried to check, couldn't do it.
Take a look defensively what's behind Dave Burba, and you see a lot of gold gloves up the middle. 4 in center field for Kenny Lofton, 17 from the second base and shortstop position, more than any other double play combination in the history of baseball. And as you well know, John, they're not done yet. There's more gold to come for those two guys.
2 of the best to ever play those positions defensively. Here is Edgar Martinez. Edgar, who got injured on a Sunday night game 3 weeks ago in Seattle. He pulled the quadricep muscle in his leg in an interleague game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He just got back this weekend. I mean, they missed him greatly when he first departed. At least at first, they missed him. Then all of a sudden, the guys that they were rotating at DH all got hot, and the production continued. Off the outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Edgar hitting .297, 14 homers, 70 batted in. Gets a lot of walks. He's on base all the time.
I think the only guy that Seattle could not replace is their manager, Lou Piniella.
That's foul.
If Sasaki goes down in the bullpen, well, you've got Nelson, Arthur Rhodes to close with. You give the league leader in RBIs the night off tonight, no big deal, right? Brett Boone trying to talk Lou Piniella into putting it into the lineup, saying that our ratings tonight would go way down when people found out he wasn't playing.
Yeah, we laughed when we heard him say that, but you notice we didn't mention it right away. Down on the way to Edgar. 2-2 the count. Now, the Cleveland Indians have lost 6 out of 7. They fell out of first place this weekend, and they come into play tonight knowing that the Minnesota Twins lost their game. Cleveland was a game and a half back when the night began. And that's too low with a fastball. Full count to Edgar Martinez. Sometimes with Edgar, and the same with John Olerud, who's on deck, you might as well just set the count at 3-2 before they walk up there. I mean, they get the deep count almost every time. 2 down, nobody out. There's Fryman. Edgar's still not running at peak efficiency. So a great first inning for Burba on a night when the Cleveland Indians need him to be great.
Getting on to start the bottom of the first inning with a single, ended up standing at first base.
Which is another difference in his game right now. 2-1 the count to Mike Cameron. He was one of the Mariners All-Stars and the American League All-Star team. Fouling one back and out of play. Catcher Einar Diaz of the Cleveland Indians wearing mask cam tonight. And we're very pleased that he decided to do so, to take us right into the action, right in the home plate area there. Cameron, 17 homers, 69 batted in, 23 steals, Gold Glove quality center field play. He's got Martin out there at second base right now as we look at the action from Mascam. High in the air, left center field, deep. Burks going way back, Lofton going way back. This one is high off the wall. Burks plays the carom. Martin will score. Cameron will stop at second. And the Mariners have a 1-0 lead.
Al Martin with another terrific job of base running. Rather than tagging, he continued to drift towards third base. And when he saw Ellis Burks turn his back to play the ball off the wall, it was easy for him to score, and Mike Cameron just simply trading places with him with the first run here. The ball elevated. That's the game plan against Dave Burba. Get a fastball up in the zone. His velocity has been down. Seattle reports that earlier in the year, he was throwing in the low 90s. He's just touching the mid to upper 80s at this point in the season.
Now Carlos Guillen. Guillen, a switch hitter, 253 average. 4 homers, 43 batted in. Fastball low, but too low. 1 ball to no strikes. You got the big wall out there in left field. That one just kind of scraped off the wall. But there also is a rubberized warning track out there. Cameron was talking about that before the game. That he says that's one of the real hazards of playing the outfield up against that left field wall. If the ball comes off that wall and hits that warning track, it can really shoot right by it. Burks backed up Lofton on that play to keep that from happening. Burks makes the grab at left center on this one. Guillen retired. Cameron holding at second base. 2 down.
Watching the ball carry in batting practice, you can tell by the way the wind's just slightly blowing from right field to the left field line. It will carry to left center and to left field, as that ball did that Mike Cameron hit. You hit that same fly ball to right center field, that wind's going to hold it up. It'll be a routine play.
2 down, and here is David Bell. Now, Bell kind of typifies what's going on with this ball club. I mean, his overall numbers are not very good. Only 249 batting average, 11 homers, 50 batted in. But you put a runner out there at second base, like you've got right now, and he's a whole different hitter. He has been particularly effective in spots like this. Time taken. David Bell is hitting .323 with men in scoring position.
You know, you talk to the Mariner players, Jamie Moore in particular, saying that David Bell has had a terrific year. He got off to a slow start, but this guy was almost an all-star. I mean, until a late rush from the fans voting for Cal Ripken Jr., that would have been David Bell's spot.
Down and away.
Huge contributions. Jamie Moore is saying he made a great defensive play on a ball hit hard by Kenny Lofton in Friday night's game. It helped Jamie, and the Mariners win that ball game. Clutch hits, as you mentioned, with runners in scoring position. And as everybody on this Mariner team, good defense.
2 balls and no strikes now. Berba falling behind Bell. A left-handed batter, Tom Lampkin, is on deck.
Just typical Cleveland. Even in the first inning when they went 1-2-3, Dave Berba had to throw 16 pitches to get that done. Seattle working the count. It's going to take its toll. Eventually you get into the bullpen.
That's on the outside.
And that's been the problem for Cleveland all year long. Their starters just averaging 5.4 innings per game. That's the fewest in all of baseball.
Cleveland's bullpen has been overworked. There's Charles Nagy. He's come back from an injury, but has not yet found his former stuff. It's off the outside again. 3-1 the count now.
With all of the new umpires in baseball today, you don't know them like you did back when it was the same rotation. Both of these veteran starters tonight trying to get home plate umpire Jeff Nelson to give something on that outer half. To this point, he has not.
3-1 the count. Runner at second, 2 down. And again, missing outside. So Bell draws the walk. Now he's going to have to face a left-handed hitter. And as many problems as Berba has had this year, he's had even more problems against left-handed hitters. Left-handed hitters hitting an astounding 373 as a group against Dave Berba as he and Einar Diaz talk it over at the mound.
Berba's main out pitch is a split-fingered fastball. It's an off-speed pitch with some tumbling motion down. But to make that pitch effective, you've got to have enough velocity with your fastball to get hitters to cheat on it. Start to swing a little sooner. He's not had that velocity to get to do it. And last night he was saying his splitter and his fastball have basically been twins. Not much difference in the radar gun.
Here's Tom Lampkin. Dan Wilson, the Mariners' regular catcher, but they've been giving Dan more regular days off now than in the past. Lampkin has been playing more often. That one's sinking too low, so he's behind Lampkin. 2 on, 2 out. Ichiro is on deck.
He almost puts on a calisthenics clinic in between pitches. I mean, he's constantly stretching those legs, stretching his back. Always in motion, as is Seattle's offense.
Ball strike with a changeup. 1 ball, 1 strike now to Lampkin. A run is in for the Mariners. They lead 1-0. There's Cameron, who hit the double off the left center field wall to drive in Al Martin, who had doubled. Bell, who walked, is over at first base. Ball and a strike. And the splitter, 1-2 to count.
Lampkin not showing the patience that the rest of the guys in his lineup have done. Here comes the splitter. You can see the grip, the tumbling action. Lampkin expanding that zone. If you continue to do that, you'll see the Dave Berba that won 15 games 2 years ago, 16 games last year.
This time he took it. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, Berba has been a very regular winner for Cleveland. As you mentioned, I mean, the last 3 years, he averaged a little better than 15 wins a year. And historically, he's been at his best in the second half of the year. A lifetime record after the All-Star break of 50 wins and only 24 losses. But even that has not held up for him so far this year. He is only 1-2 since the All-Star break this year. That is into right field, and it's a base hit. Cordova has to go back and get it. Cameron in to score. Over to third base is Bell, and into second is Lampkin, and it is 2-0 Seattle.
Piniella, before tonight's game, talking it over with his coaches, saying somebody's got to sit. He didn't know who he was going to sit out of tonight's ball game. It ended up being Brett Boone. He had an option at the catcher's position. It could have been Dan Wilson. He decided on Tom Lampkin, and once again, every single thing that Lou Piniella has done this year has paid off.
So 3 doubles in the inning. for the Mariners and a couple of near misses for Cleveland. Perhaps the most damaging was the first one. Kenny Lofton got a late break on the ball hit by Al Martin, and it went for a double. Another night, Lofton would have picked it up immediately, turned it into an out. They would have had 2 down and nobody on, and maybe nothing at all would have happened in this inning. That's not the way it's going for Cleveland or Kenny Lofton right now. Ichiro, 1 strike to count. Blooped into left field, and that's a base hit. Bell is in, and now this is a big inning. Lampkin right behind him. It's a 4-run rally for the Mariners, capped off right there by Ichiro, who's been one of the toughest outs in all of baseball. In spots like that, a .452 batting average with men in scoring position.
The best average in the American League with runners in scoring position, and he makes an adjustment. This is exactly the same pitch that he struck out on looking in his first at bat. He said, all right, you want to try to come in there again? I realize you can get it there for a strike. I got to do something with it. The ball was elevated. He got just enough of it to drop it in. The 3rd double of the inning. But do not forget, probably the biggest at bat was the base on balls drawn by David Bell. He just battled. He didn't give away his out. It kept the inning going. And as you said, John, it's a big inning now for Seattle.
And for Dave Burba, the same old sad story right now. 2 near misses on fly balls. And now the bloop single by Ichiro. I mean, they haven't exactly been hitting shots all around the yard, but they got 4 runs on the board. And Ichiro, a threat to steal, he has 38 stolen bases this year.
I'll be real surprised if he sticks around for more than a pitch or 2. Burba, one of the easiest pitchers in baseball to run on. Opponent successful in 16 out of 18 stolen base attempts.
Moving him back to the bag, or being moved back to the bag by Burba. 4 runs are in, and the big crowd at the Jake is very subdued. Toward the middle, Lamar Vizquel. And that, at long last, ends the inning. 8 men come to bat for the Mariners, and they put 4 on the board. It'll be Jim Thome that last. The Terminal Tower off in the distance, a landmark in downtown Cleveland, near the more recent landmarks, Gund Arena, and of course Jacobs Field. There's been a lot of great baseball played in this yard since it opened in 1994. Here is Edgar Martinez for the Mariners. Big curveball from Dave Burba for a called strike as we view the pitches from the dead straightaway center field camera. It's a nice view of the actual movement of pitches and where they pass the plate. There's a ball down and away. A fastball missing. 1 ball and 1 strike. So you've got Edgar, the 3rd place hitter, then Olerud, but not Brett Boone. In the last month or so, Lou Piniella says they've been giving one of their regulars a night off every night. And tonight Boone gets that rest as we view from Mascot. Look out. That one got away from Burba, went right under the chin of Edgar Martinez. 1-1.
It was pretty good timing for manager Lou Piniella to give Boone that off day because of the fact that Seattle can run on Dave Burba. Brett Boone a little bit banged up, but as Lou Piniella said before tonight's game, he said, I'm going to have one of the coaches tell him he's not playing tonight because I know he's not going to be happy.
There's a ball down and away. 3-1 the count. Lou, he wants to give the regulars some regular rest for the stretch run. One of the luxuries of being 20 games ahead instead of being, say, Cleveland's spot, a game and a half out. Through, base hit. Thome made a dive, but Edgar Martinez doing that thing he does so well.
You know, that's probably the only reason that I would be in favor of the designated hitter is because without that, we would have never gotten to know Edgar Martinez. Physically just not able to play a position. Not only a good hitter, but his Mariner teammates will tell you he's even a better person.
Now, Edgar used to play third base, but he kept getting hurt. a lot like Paul Molitor. Molitor used to play regularly at second base or third base, but he seemed to always get hurt. Finally, they just said, well, let's try to get him out of harm's way and use that DH rule. And Edgar Martinez has been the best DH since the rule came into being.
Right before the interleague game started, Lou Piniella had John Olerud playing some left field just to see how that would go. He took a look at Edgar at third base.
And there's Olerud with a base hit. So both Edgar and Olerud go the other way with base hits here. 2 men on for the Mariners.
Not so important there for John Olerud to pull the baseball with a man on first and nobody out, because Tomei was not holding Edgar Martinez on, playing in his normal position. Plus, you know, they don't want to extend Edgar. They're not going to try to get him from first to third if it's going to involve a close play. John Olerud, does anybody do anything more spectacular, any quieter than he does? Winning his first Gold Glove last year, finally getting away from J.T. Snow. When Olerud was in Toronto, J.T. was with the Angels. And then Olerud goes to the New York Mets. Well, J.T. followed him with the San Francisco Giants.
JT's had a firm grasp on that Gold Glove award. There's a curveball down and away to Al Martin. Now, this is normally the spot where Brett Boone would be batting. There's Mike Bassick, a left-hander, up in the Cleveland bullpen now. Burba gave up 4 in the second, and he's immediately in trouble here in the third. Martin got the second inning rally started with his single into shallow center that was misjudged initially by Kenny Lofton. That fastball is too low. 2-0 the count. Now, Cleveland has had 29 games this year where the starting pitcher has been knocked out before the 5th inning, including yesterday. Charlie Manuel removed his starter yesterday in the 4th inning. He'd like to get some innings out of Burba. That's back out of play. I mean, his bullpen pitched, what, 6 and, I guess it was 5 2/3 innings yesterday. There is Edgar Martinez at second. John Olerud at first, but not Brett Boone at the plate. I mean, Brett Boone has been an RBI machine this year. 102 batted in. And one of the great reasons, as he talked about before the game, is because he's hitting behind Edgar and Olerud, who get on base so often. In fact, Boone has had more at-bats with men in scoring position than anybody else in the majors. And, of course, then he's produced.
Well, if Boone would have been in the lineup, Al Martin would have been the guy that had to sit. Ella looked at the numbers that you mentioned earlier. Against Burba, left-handed hitters, 373.
And that's a base hit for Martin. Edgar Martinez is still not running well with that sore quad muscle. So 3 straight hits, and 8 of the last 10 Mariner hitters have reached safely since Burba retired the first 4 hitters of the game.
It almost looks like to me that Dave Burba is tipping his pitches. If not, maybe the catcher, Einar Diaz, is telling Seattle what's coming. Burba was always a guy in the past that would give up his hits. He would bend, but he never broke. He always stayed in the ball game, got deep into the game. He'd give you 30-plus starts a year, always give you over 200 innings. But right now, it looks like something's broke.
Well, Charlie Manuel may well agree with you. Here he comes to the mound. He's got Bassick, the left-hander, up in the bullpen. And you've got Cameron, who hit a double off the big wall in left field his first time. 7 hits allowed by Burba in 2+ innings. In fact, 7 hits to the last 10 hitters plus a walk. Three singles in this inning.
Well, and Seattle not trying to do anything more than take what you give them. We saw the fastball away to Ellis Burks that he tried to pull. It ended up being a double play. The only reason Al Martin got away with pulling that fastball away was because it was elevated.
3 men on, nobody out, and the Mariners threatening to open it up big time early. Mike Bassick in for the bull. Top of the 3rd inning, and now the 23-year-old left-hander Mike Bassick from Duncanville, Texas. He's about to make his major league debut. He has a final couple of words with catcher Einar Diaz, and he inherits a tight spot 3 men on. Edgar Martinez at third, John Olerud at second, and Al Martin at first. And Mike Cameron, who already has a double tonight, at the plate. Bassick used primarily as a starting pitcher in the minor leagues. Opened the year at Double-A, then went to Buffalo in Triple-A ball. And Cameron decided not to wait around to find out what kind of stuff he was featuring. He went right after the first fastball he saw.
Well, you got to figure that the youngster's going to be a little bit nervous. It's not the situation Charlie Manuel wanted to bring him in for his major league debut, but if that first pitch is a sign of things to come, this kid's not afraid.
On the outside corner, strike 2 called, and that is one of the things we were told about Bassick, that he's got outstanding control. He was once ranked by Baseball America magazine as having the best control among any of Cleveland's minor league pitchers. This year, in minor league ball, only 21 walks in 123 innings. Backdoors him with a slider and didn't miss by much. 1-2 the count. And Cameron, I would figure, would be a tough man to double up. He's got great speed. Although checking the numbers, he's actually grounded into 8 double plays. Middle infield looking for the double play. Fastball running off the outside. 2-2.
That home plate umpire, Jeff Nelson, might have been fooled by that sharp slider on the previous pitch. He, just like Mike Cameron, has got to learn the stuff of Mike Bassick.
3 men on. Nobody out. 2-2 the count. And again, down and away, full count.
Now you got to go back to what he did on that first pitch. You got to challenge him. And Cameron's got just enough power to put up another 4 spot here in the top of the 3rd, as they did in the top of the 2nd.
Yen, a switch hitter on deck. 3-2. Deep into left center field. And way back there. That is off the top of the wall. Martinez scores. Olerud scores. Martin stops at 3rd. It's a double for Cameron, his 2nd in a row. And he almost put up a 4 spot on that one. 6-0 Mariners. And Cameron with 2 doubles and 3 batted in already.
He had 3 opportunities to try to nail down the outside corner in the 3rd strike to Cameron. When he missed with all 3, he had to go back to square one. He centered the fastball. Cameron missed that same pitch on the first pitch of the at-bat. He did not miss that one. And just an outstanding job by the 3rd base coach, Dave Myers. He knows that Edgar Martinez is going to score. There's Olerud. He's sending him. Now he puts up the stop sign immediately. Had he been any further down the line, Al Martin might have followed John Olerud and been thrown out at home.
Now the infield comes in as Carlos Guillen switching around to bat right-handed now. He's a switch hitter. Takes a curveball for a strike. 6-0 Seattle in the 3rd inning. Runners at 2nd and 3rd, still nobody out. To the inside and through the drawn and infield. Martin will come in to score, and being waved home is Cameron, and he will score as Burns throws into 2nd. And it is 8-0 Seattle. They've had 5 consecutive hits to start the 3rd inning.
They just don't give you strikes or outs. They battle for everything they can possibly get. They know that manager Lou Piniella has a lot of options. You don't play well, or in particular, you don't play the game right. You're out of position defensively. You don't hustle. You swing at the same pitch over and over again. He's got options to go to. When you get an opportunity to play for Piniella, you better play well, and they are.
Not David Bell. He walked his first time. That's a foul out of play. 0-1. So Bassick, he got a couple of quick strikes against Cameron, but then could not put him away. He's still looking for his first out as a big league pitcher. The Mariners tonight, in their at-bats with men in scoring position, have had 6 hits in 7 such at-bats. 6 for 7. Way outside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, now things will settle down for Mike Bassick here. He had the bases loaded. You were out of your environment. Your adrenaline was going crazy. Then on the next at bat, you had the infield in. You had to try to get a ground ball. You got it, but it wasn't at anybody. He's more comfortable here. There's a changeup. We'll start seeing the whole repertoire of the young left-hander.
Lou Piniella said tonight, he said, well, we'll see what our lineup looks like without our big RBI guy. Well, they've masked his absence pretty well. 8 runs on the board. We're only in the 3rd inning. And another base hit. A low fastball that might have been out of the strike zone. 2 men on, still nobody out, and here's an update from L.A. with Bill Pito.
All right, John, as Nextel takes us to L.A., the Cubs and the Dodgers, scoreless game here in the 3rd. Gary Sheffield, Delino DeShields giving chase. It's a ground rule double, drives in Paul LaDuca, who also had a ground rule double, and the Dodgers trying to hold on to first place, lead at 1-0.
Thanks, Bill. And again, we'll keep you posted on that ball game, which is being televised over on ESPN2, the Cubs and the Dodgers. Cubs leading the National League Central. Start of the day, 2.5 ahead of Houston, and Houston won its game today. Well, that one hits Tom Lampkin, and so the bases are loaded. So 12 of the last 14 Mariners, including the first 7 of this inning, have reached base, as we view that one from Mascan. Now, you're supposed to try to get out of the way. Looked to me like he actually moved in the way of that one, didn't he?
If that was a fastball, he might have moved, but he knows that's an off-speed pitch. It's not going to hurt. The only thing it's going to hurt is the ERA of Mike Bassick, and also that, once again, of the Cleveland Indians pitching staff.
Dave Burba, 2+ innings tonight, charged with 7 runs and 7 hits.
You know, that's the frustrating part for me as a young broadcaster. I did all of this work on Dave Burba today. I talked to all of these guys. I've got all this great stuff, and he's gone.
Well, let's hear it. Let's hear some of the great stuff.
He was traded for Sean Casey. You know, he's been parts of some big-name trades. He was traded for Kevin Mitchell, Deion Sanders. He's much bigger names than that. But he's gone.
And now you can't use that stuff. That curveball is in there for a strike to Ichiro, who is 1 for 2. Those would have been great notes to have if he was still in the game. I feel bad for you that you can't use them. Aldrich today asked if he wanted to go out to lunch. No, I've got a lot of notes I'm writing up. There's Ichiro hitting a high drive into left center. Walking. Tagging Guillen from 3rd. He'll score. Also tagging Bell from 2nd. He moves to 3rd. That makes it a 5-run inning. And it is 9-0 as Ichiro gets his 3rd RBI of the game with the sacrifice fly. It also is the first out of the inning.
This guy is just not intimidated by anybody. Left-handed pitcher, right-handed pitcher, facing the big unit to start the All-Star game off with, getting a base hit. Look at the head down. All the movement from down below, but no movement with those hands until he has made up his mind. He's seen the baseball, and it's something that he can handle.
Now Mark McLemore, the 9th hitter of the inning for the Mariners. They sent 8 men to the plate in a 4-run 2nd inning. Now they have 5 on the board here in the 3rd. They lead 9-0. McLemore struck out and grounded out in this game tonight. Now batting right-handed. Edgar Martinez, who led off the inning, is on deck. And Bassick misses down and away. Ichiro in the All-Star game. Ichiro wears Randy Johnson's number, the number that the big unit wore when he was with the Mariners. And there was Ichiro in Seattle facing Randy Johnson in his first All-Star at bat. And he got robbed of maybe a triple by Todd Helton, but still turned it into a single.
Eventually stole 2nd base.
He may get from home plate to first base faster than anybody in the game. called strike on the outside. 3-1. This is the play in the All-Star game we're talking about. That's pretty quick.
I remember watching him in spring training, the very first game of the spring. And he hit a ground ball to shortstop, a routine two-hopper. It was bang, bang at first. And the first base coach for the Padres, Alan Trammell, had clocked him at 3.7 in the first spring training game of the year. I could see running like that in the All-Star game, but...
Nope, a little bit low. So it's a walk to McLemore, and that reloads the bases. Now, right now, Charlie Manuel doesn't have many options. In yesterday's game here, he ran through his bullpen 5 2/3 innings worth, and he needs somebody to eat up some innings here tonight. Yesterday, he used 5 different relievers. 2 of them, David Risky and Danny Baez, also very young pitchers. Risky threw 40 pitches, Baez threw 37.
That last at bat, though, from Mark McLemore typifies what Seattle as a team is all about and what he's about. He could have taken a swing at that ball. It was close enough to put a bat on it. You got a man at third base and only 1 out. You could selfishly try to pick up that RBI. You're not going to do it with a walk. But even with a 9-0 lead, McLemore staying within himself, being all about the team, creating another opportunity for Edgar Martinez to drive in a bunch of runs.
Edgar started this rally with a single, and he could not lay off that breaking ball down and away. 0-2 the count with Bell at third base, Lampkin at second, and Mark McLemore over at first. Cleveland already trailing 9-0 in the third inning. They were beaten here on Thursday by Oakland 17-4. Inside, didn't miss by much there. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Oakland, in fact, in taking 2 out of 3 from them here, scored 33 runs in the 3 games. Scored 11 runs in the first game and 17 in the getaway game on Thursday. Cleveland having trouble in its own ballpark for the first time. Now they might get 2. No, Vizquel has to go right under his glove. 1 run is in and 2 runs are in. Bell and Lampkin both score. Wow, now that could have been an inning-ending double play because Edgar cannot run. He's running at about 70-75% effectiveness right now. I mean, not that fast to begin with.
But you know what? When you sat back and watch the opposition bat around through the lineup, you just don't expect the ball to be hit at you. Omar Vizquel, we've seen him make that play 100 times. It's a simple double play for him. But you just get out of your focus. You're not ready. You're not anticipating the ball being hit at you. You're anticipating another ball hit off the wall, another base on balls, and that's when things like that happen.
Well, the official scorer apparently didn't feel like he's seen him make that play very often because he gave Edgar a base hit on that one.
No, he didn't. Is that right?
1 ball and no strikes to John Olerud. Olerud singled at the beginning of this inning. Now he's the 11th batter of the inning. 11-0. The Mariners are ahead. 7 runs in the third inning. And that curveball a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike from Mike Bassick, who has faced 7 hitters, given up 4 hits, hit a batter, walked a batter, and retired only 1. Smash down the right field line, but foul.
And the one guy he was able to retire was Ichiro, who hit a ball to the warning track in left center field that resulted in a sacrifice fly and an RBI. $11-0 Seattle. The Mariners, I mean, you don't think of the Mariners with sluggers and big offense and whatnot, but they do lead the American League in runs scored. 1-2 the count. That one gets through. Just past Roberto Alomar. Here comes the throw in, cut off by Tomey. McLemore scores. Martinez to second.
It is 12-0, and the fans are very unhappy.
Everybody except Ichiro now has scored a run. Al Martin with 2 runs scored, Cameron with 2, Bell with 2, Lampkin with 2 runs scored. Really not batch pitches being made. That ball's down. Look at that pitch, elevated a little bit. That's the only out of the inning. Payne on the outside corner, the questionable call on the play not made by Omar Vizquel. And Mike Bassick has got to be saying to himself, you know, I made these pitches in AAA and got people out. Well, you're going to get a lot of people out in the big leagues with those pitches, but you're not going to get the Seattle Mariners out the way they're hitting, swinging the bats now.
So a rough greeting to the show from Mike Bassick, 23-year-old left-handed. Diaz knocking that ball down. Bassick so far has been charged with 5 runs in 1/3 of an inning. 5 runs to his own record. He's been charged with 5 hits. He's walked 1 and hit 1. Al Martin is 2 for 2 in this game. He's singled to load the bases. And that's foul off the third base side. 1 ball and 1 strike. And there's Aaron Seeley. A little bit overkill for Aaron. I mean, he's 12-3 with a 3.41 ERA, but something about Seeley seems to bring whatever team he's pitching for, seems to inspire their offense. Seeley has been extremely well supported throughout his career.
In fact, he has the highest career run support of any active pitcher in the big leagues. 5.7 runs per game. Probably looking up at those 12 runs saying, okay, guys, that's enough. Let me get out there and get my 5 innings in.
I mean, it's been a while since he's thrown a pitch. Now Martin, the 12th batter of the inning. Now goes to 2-2. Got fooled on that breaking ball from Bassick. Seeley retired Travis Fryman in the 2nd inning to end the inning at 8:49 Eastern Time. It was 30 minutes ago. And that's just a little bit low with a fastball, 3-2. That was the 46th pitch thrown this inning by Cleveland pitchers, which isn't that many considering that 8 runs have scored. Edgar Martinez, John Olerud with 2 hits apiece in the inning. Martin's got 1. And he is down on strikes in the curveball. Out number 2, and a sarcastic ovation from the big crowd of the Jake.
Well, that's a season full of frustration for these fans and the problems that Seattle has had with their starting pitching.
Cameron doubled off the big wall in left field, did not get a run in the 2nd inning. And as the first man that Bassick faced with the bases loaded in the 3rd inning, he did it again on a 3-2 pitch, knocking in 2 more. So he's scraped 2 balls off the wall in left and had 3 RBIs. Cameron has 72 RBIs for the year. 2 on, 2 out, 8 runs in. And he started out a little bit differently this time with Edgar at 2nd and Olerud at 1st. When Bassick first came into the game, he got 2 quick strikes on Cameron. And then finally went to 3-2. So now he's starting behind him. Maybe that'll be more successful. Look at that. Get behind him, have him hit 180 miles an hour to Omar. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball presented by Nextel. The Mariners 12, Cleveland nothing. Last of the 4th inning. Aaron Seeley got the huge lead and has a 3-hit shutout working. Juan Gonzalez leads off, and Jim Thome and Ellis Burks. Now, ordinarily, would promise to be a real tough inning for any pitcher, but Seeley's got a 12-run lead. He can pitch confidently no matter who's up right now. Gonzalez lined out to center his first time. In the left center field, Cameron has to play this one off the wall. Bare hand pickup, and Gonzalez, remember, we've got the hamstring strain, still not running at peak efficiency, holds with a single.
They were the second best defensive team in baseball last year, being the Seattle Mariners. Cleveland was better, but they're the #1 defensive team this year. Not only do they not make errors, but they take bases away from teams. Ichiro with an outstanding play on Robbie Alomar's drive, and a terrific play here by Mike Cameron. He couldn't get to it. The perfect angle, barehands the ball, the strong throw, it's on its way. And Gonzalez had to pull up at first base.
Now, Jim Thome, he walked his first time. And that curveball is in there for a called strike. Well, I mean, you look all around the field. And you've got Olerud, who's so solid at first base. David Bell, who's been outstanding at third base. Ichiro, who may be the best right fielder in the league. And Cameron, who's as good as it gets in center field. Brett Boone has always been an outstanding second baseman, although he's not in the lineup tonight.
Former Gold Glove winner.
Curveball misses. 2 balls and a strike, the count to Jim Thome. And some of the Mariners were saying before the game that they think Mark McLemore deserves a Gold Glove. I said, what position? He said, at 6 different positions. Which could be a first. 3-1 the count. Although when you get a guy like McLemore, you know, Tony Phillips, I remember, was one of the guys who played every single day, but could be anywhere in the field on a given day. So a regular player, but in a utility mode, in effect. And McLemore's doing that now. I mean, maybe a guy like that who's outstanding in the field, maybe they need a new category.
You know, another thing, well, kind of like the 6th man in the NBA kind of thing.
That one is hit high in the air. Deep into right center field. Cameron and Ichiro, and gone, a home run. Number 35 for Thome, extending his American League lead.
It hasn't shown up yet as far as runs are concerned, but Aaron Seeley very frustrated he cannot get his curveball over early in the count. He missed with his location twice in the at-bat to Thome. Eventually had to challenge him with a fastball. And Jim Thome just does not miss many pitches when he's in a good streak, as he is now.
I mean, he just looks like power when he's at the plate. Ellis Burks takes 2 high.
Once again, another breaking ball. Seeley has lost his last 2 starts coming into tonight's game. He just said he's been inconsistent. Not had the release point, the feel for that good curveball, which is his strength.
Ellis Burks, 287, 22 homers. Burks, who came to Cleveland after being with the Giants the last couple of years, hits one high and foul down the left field line. That's a pretty good shot. And although the wind we had earlier coming in from that part of the ballpark has stopped blowing for a while. 418 feet was the measurement on that home run by Thome.
Thome might have been the one that stopped the wind. Was strong enough to turn it around.
And that one in on Ellis Burks. Ellis just had a couple of monster years for the Giants. Considering the number of games he played, he was limited to only about 390 at-bats a season in San Francisco because, you know, he couldn't DH. Strike 3 on the outside, and Ellis very unhappy about that call. Thought he had the walk.
Aaron Seeley just continues to make big pitches when he has to. He walked Tomei to start the bottom of the second inning. He got the double play, painting the outside corner on Ellis Burks. Here he does it again in the mind of home plate umpire Jeff Nelson. But you could see Tom Lampkin bringing that pitch back to the plate, which anytime you see a catcher doing that, it tells you that even the catcher thought the ball was out of the strike zone.
1 ball and no strikes to Marty Cordova, a one-time American League Rookie of the Year. He gets that outside call again. 1 ball, 1 strike. You know, we've talked about Ellis Burks. He had 96 RBIs for San Francisco in each of the last 2 years, with fewer than 400 at-bats. There's that big curveball from Seeley. 1 ball and 2 strikes. But one of Burks' hopes coming here to Cleveland was that with the DH rule, he'd get more at-bats without having to take the pounding on his knees. I mean, he'd play a couple of days in the outfield and would need a day off. The knees would get all swollen up. He's only played 14 games in the outfield this year.
He was in the top 10 last year in RBIs per at bat in the National League. Last couple of years, just 120 games started. As you said, 96 RBIs both years and 70+ runs each year scored.
Into the hole, and there goes Guillen. Not nearly in time to get Cordova. Acrobatic effort there by Guillen. That's the 3rd hit of the inning for Cleveland, but they are trailing 12-2. Over the past 75 years, millions have watched the Goodyear blimps hovering over special events. Tonight, above Jacobs Field is the spirit of Goodyear carrying on that tradition. You can find out more about the Goodyear blimp fleet on the internet at www.goodyear.com. And we're glad to have him overhead with us tonight on Sunday Night Baseball from Cleveland. Travis Fryman now. And again, that call on the outside. Now, when you're a pitcher and you get a call out there, not a bad idea to keep going out there, right?
It's just like fishing. You bait your hook and you throw it in the spot. You catch a fish. What do? You take it off the hook, you rebait the hook, you throw it back in the same spot, don't you? If he's going to continue to let that outside corner grow, Aaron Seeley, being a veteran pitcher, having the command of his fastball to stay in that location, I would expect that he will.
Double play ball. There's the out there. McLemore to first. Double play.
You're watching an instant classic, the Mariners and the Indians from August 5th. A Cleveland comeback for the ages, right here on ESPN Classic.
Sunday Night Baseball from Cleveland. And the hometown team is taking it on the chin right now. 12-2 Seattle. Team with the best record of the majors. Clobbering Cleveland. Here is Ichiro. And he takes a called strike. Ichiro, who makes his home in Kobe, Japan in the offseason. There's Russell Branyan now in left field as Ellis Burks gets the rest of the night off. Ichiro takes a called strike from Bassick on the inside. Ichiro tonight has struck out, hit a 2-run single, and hit a sacrifice fly. Officially 1 for 2, 3 batted in. Ichiro is so enormously famous in Japan that when he got married in the spring of 2000, he and his wife-to-be actually had the ceremony in Los Angeles to avoid the massive publicity assault that it would have generated back home in Japan. There's some Ichiro fans here in Cleveland tonight. 1-2 the count. And right back to Bassick. Ichiro is retired. There is one away. Ichiro with a very interesting, unique kind of approach at the plate. Edgar Martinez, quite an authority on hitting, talked about it.
His mechanics are very, very good. He looks like, to some people, that his feet are out of the box when he swings, but when he does that, his hands always stay back, and he waits on the ball very good.
There's a lot of things that happen with Ichiro.
McLemore with a base hit to left field on the first pitch here. The first hit for McLemore.
From the waist down with Ichiro, there's a lot of activity. He's got a bigger leg kick on certain pitchers that don't throw real hard, where he can generate more power. But watch the hands. They never move. He lets his right shoulder simply take him back into the hitting position, And when he recognizes something to hit, he goes directly to the baseball. That's the reason he doesn't walk much. He doesn't strike out much. When he sees something he likes, he does something with it.
7-time batting champion for the Oryx Blue Wave. It's a ball outside to Edgar Martinez, who has grounded out, singled. By the way, they did change the scoring call. And Edgar was up there in the 3rd inning on his 2nd at bat to an error on Omar Vizquel. Official score. Apparently he was browbeaten by Rick Sutcliffe for the change in that call. That's a base hit for Edgar. A clean single here, his 2nd hit of the game. McLemore to 2nd. Alvaro Martin on Ichiro.
John, Rick was mentioning that he had changed his batting stance. He won 6 batting titles using his front leg as a pendulum before he swung at the ball. Last season, during spring training in Japan in the Pacific League, he decided to put his foot down and have a more standard approach. He said, I wanted more power while having the same plate coverage. The power numbers went down, but you can't complain. He won his 7th batting title by hitting .387. That's a career high. Edgar was saying he's such a natural, instinctive, intelligent hitter. The scary stat about Ichiro is 27 years old. He said in the next 10-15 years, who knows what he can do.
And that's a called strike to Ed Sprague, the pinch hitter for John Olerud. Mariners ahead 12-2, so Ed Sprague, a veteran, one-time World Series hero with the Toronto Blue Jays against the Atlanta Braves. When was that? 1992. He had a big home run that helped turn that series around a little bit. He takes off the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's Gerald Perry, the hitting instructor for the Mariners.
Telling me that Ichiro hits more home runs in batting practice than any other Mariner player. He said it's amazing the things the guy has done the first half of the year when he's never seen any of these pitches before. Gerald thinks that Ichiro's power numbers will go up the 2nd half.
Into left center. That one will go up against the wall on a hop. The Karen played by Branyan. Coming in to score is McLemore. Then the throw goes to 2nd, at which point Edgar Martinez dug for 3rd and made it easily. Branyan threw in behind him, and Edgar, seeing that, just took off for 3rd with the sore quadricep muscle and all. Sprague with the RBI, 13-2 Seattle.
I think if Lou Piniella had it to do over again, Edgar would have stayed at 2nd base. They just got him back into the lineup. They know that they need him healthy. Sprague with another rocket delivered off Cleveland Indian pitching. Branyan coming up with it. Take a look at McLemore. He knows that he's going to score. Now Edgar pulls up the brakes. He's just going to stop right there. But he's far enough down the line that when he sees the long throw to 2nd, he knows even with his lack of speed, with his lack of legs, the injury that he has, he could get to 3rd base easily.
Now Al Martin was at 1st and 3rd, 1 out. Nice pickup by Tomey, and he gets the sure out at 1st. Coming in to score is Edgar, and the 2nd is Sprague. RBI for Martin.
Take a look at him before. Look at that big leg kick. Now watch what he does. He just simply calms that front half down. He's also gotten bigger and stronger with his upper body, so they think that those power numbers will come back with the lack of adrenaline and power that he created from the waist down before.
14-2 now Seattle. Here is Cameron, who's had 2 doubles, 3 RBIs. Runner at 2nd, 2 down. Passing to the plate. That's a strike. Alvaro Martin on Ichiro.
Gerald Perry, the hitting coach, mentioned to us that Ichiro's being told 2 things, really. The only 2 instructions he gets from the hitting coaches is stay behind as the pitch comes and keep the ball on the ground. And that might be a reason we don't see a lot of balls come out of the park. But even Edgar told me he can hit home runs. I see him a lot during the batting practice. And he also mentioned that the only thing he's asked Ichiro, Edgar has asked Ichiro, is what do you do with your front hip? Apparently Ichiro keeps the front hip back as he moves forward. Edgar's never seen that in any hitter. He felt maybe that's something I should pick up.
Yeah, that's what Edgar needs. He needs to change his style a little bit. Obviously, he's only hitting, what, 330 or whatever lifetime. 0-2 the count. I mean, Edgar, part of the reason why he's such a great hitter is Cameron goes down on the slider in the dirt, is that he's always trying to improve himself.
The Mariners and the Indians from August 5th. A Cleveland comeback for the ages right here on ESPN Classic.
And Russell Branyan driving one into the alleyway deep into right center and gone. A home run. Russell Branyan going para la calle. His 15th home run of the year in only 250 at-bats. He's a big, strong guy who strikes out an awful lot, but he's one of those guys that got enormous potential.
Like 400 home run potential, but along with that could possibly come a couple of thousand strikeouts. Knows that Aaron Seeley's got the big lead, knows Aaron Seeley wants to throw everything in the strike zone, got a good pitch to hit, and as he can, hit it a long ways.
Well, it is 14-3. Marty Cordova 2 for 2, including an infield single. And the count now is quickly 0-2 to Cordova. Russell Branyan came into the game in the 5th inning in left field, replacing Ellis Burks, and moved to third base. Now he has a home run, and that was no cheap. I mean, that was a line drive. That was not one of those big soaring home runs. A liner. I was astounded it had enough on it to make it all the way out there, as Cordova is down on strikes for out number 1.
Well, Cleveland could have picked up some starting pitching before the deadline, but it would have cost them him. And their front office just did not want to give that guy up. They've given up some power hitters in the past, and it's cost them. Sean Casey, Brian Giles, Jeremy Burnitz, Richie Sexton, who hit a grand slam homer today against Atlanta.
Here is Will Cordero taking a strike. This is his first at bat. Seattle's bullpen is getting busy for the first time tonight. 0-2 to Cordero. There is John Halama, one of the trio of pitchers acquired from Houston in the Randy Johnson trade 3 years ago. Showed with some of the other players. There's Freddie Garcia, who came in that trade, along with Carlos Guillen. Also, when Ken Griffey Jr. was traded, they got some talent for him. Plus, they had the salary mobility in the roster to acquire more. And he is just fouled on the left field line. Pat Gillick had become the GM by the time Griffey was traded. And then they did the same thing this past offseason when they lost Alex Rodriguez to free agency. Pat Gillick went out and brought in a lot more talent. So now they don't have those big superstars that they used to have. I mean, this was one of the most, and I'm talking about Seattle, one of the most interesting teams in terms of superstar talent. I mean, maybe the best right-handed hitter, Edgar Martinez, maybe the best player in the game, Ken Griffey Jr., the great young shortstop, Alex Rodriguez, the great left-hander, Randy Johnson. I mean, they had great talent all over the field, but they are now, without all of those superstars, now the best team they've ever had. And after Alex Rodriguez left, they went out and signed Brett Boone, also Ichiro, and the former Yankee relief pitcher Jeff Nelson, all of whom have been key men in this lineup and on this club.
Well, before last year, Gillick signed Aaron Seeley as a free agent. You look at Jeff Nelson, figuring he's got the night off with this big lead Seattle has to this point. Aaron Seeley, one of 5 guys over the last 3 years that has won at least 17 games. We've all heard of Pedro Martinez, the big unit, Greg Maddux, and David Wells. But this is the 5th guy that has had at least 17 wins and well on his way to doing it again this year.
So going after number 13 tonight and leading by 12 runs in the 7th inning.
Figure the unit will win at least 17. Greg Maddux is going to do that again. Pedro Martinez probably won't. Neither will David Wells.
Up the middle, and Einar Diaz has a base hit. By the way, he has only an 11-run lead now because of Branyan's home run. I knew it was to the lot. 14-3. Diaz with his first hit. Well, whenever the Goodyear blimp is hovering above a game with its camera focused on an event, you know you're getting a unique view of the action. Overhead tonight is the blimp Spirit of Goodyear, based in Suffield, Ohio, very near Akron, which is the world headquarters for the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. It's a called strike over the outside to Lofton. Lofton 1 for 3 in the game. 14-3, the Mariners lead. Seattle with a win tonight will be 81-30. And 3 years ago, we had the Yankees have that historic season. The Yankees establishing an American League record by winning 114 games, although fans here in Cleveland will remember, are quick to point out that their winning percentage was not as good as the 1954 Cleveland Indians, who had been the record holder. They won 111 and lost 43, and the schedule was 8 games shorter. The Yankees won 114 and lost 48. And can Aaron Seeley's Seattle Mariners approach that figure? I mean, they appeared intent upon doing it. Jeff Nelson has sort of an interesting view on all of that, because he's here with the Seattle Ball Club, and he was there with the Yankees 3 years ago.
And he's a big part of the main thing those two teams have in common: tremendous bullpens. You've got the lead after 6 innings. You can just count on that victory. They have outscored their opponents from the 6th inning on by 110 runs. And it's not so much that Seattle scores a lot, they just don't let you score.
Diaz was running as Lofton takes ball 4. So 2 on, 2 out, and Omar Vizquel is coming up. I mean, some of the other things that are very similar. As you bring up the bullpen, I mean, look at this. Arthur Rhodes and the opponents are hitting 180. I mean, he's a slump in the making for any hitter. Then Jeff Nelson, he's had 46 innings and he's allowed 18 hits. And then Sasaki, the closer, the former Japanese great, in his 2nd year with the Mariners, he's right at the top of the league with Mariano Rivera, 35 saves.
But Seattle knew that coming into the year, because those 3 guys were the top 3 guys in the bullpen last year as far as the lowest opponent's batting average against was concerned.
Although Jeff Nelson did that for the Yankees last year and not for the Mariners.
Nelson was 1, Sasaki was 2, and Arthur Rhodes there in the middle was number 3.
There's ball 1 to Omar Vizquel. 2 on, 2 out. The Mariners, when you get into their bullpen, the game's almost over. When they've led after 6 innings, it means a long way to go yet. 63-3, and when they're tied after 6, 10-2.
And think back to before Sasaki got here, the problems Lou Piniella had closing out ball games. Well, now he's got a closer for the 7th inning, 1 for the 8th inning, and another one for the 9th.
That's what Brett Boone said. He said, hey, I know if we're ahead late in the game with our bullpen, I take my chances. 3-0 the count to Vizquel. Cabrera is on deck as Seeley might be starting to tire now. Big lead at all. He's thrown 115 pitches, and number 116 way out of the strike zone, and the bases are loaded, and here comes Piniella.
Yeah, he's walked the last 2 guys. Aaron Seeley just averaging 2 base on balls per 9 innings on the year. So even though he has only pitched into the 7th inning, he's been in that uniform tonight for a long time. Look at how Piniella handles things. Comes out, takes a look into the eyes. You want to get the last guy?
With a 14-3 score, the Mariners leading the Cleveland Indians. Alama, although he had a winning record at one point, he was struggling enough that the Mariners sent him back to the minor leagues to sort things out. And I guess he did. While he was there, he pitched a no-hitter. So they brought him back, but now he's in the bullpen.
Well, they're starting pitching and depth at the pitching position reminds me a lot of the Dodgers back in the 70s and the early 80s, when they were just stocked from top to bottom. Not only outstanding pitching at the big league level for Seattle, they got a tremendous rotation going in AAA.
Now here is Robert Cabrera. For the 2nd time, he fried out deep to left in the 6th inning. The bases are loaded with Diaz, who singled at 3rd base, Lofton, who walked at 2nd, and Vizquel, who walked at 1st. Cabrera came in the 6th inning for Roberto Alomar. The score 14-2 at the time. So Cabrera, 1 ball and no strikes to count. 3 men on. Ball, 1 strike. Halama, similar kind of a pitcher to Mike Bassick, the left-hander who's been pitching for Cleveland since the 3rd inning. Not a real hard thrower. Seeley, 6 2/3 innings.
But Halama always a winner. Big wins at the minor league level. Player that a lot of teams tried to pick up before the deadline.
Shallow left. Martin. No, it's in front of it. Diaz scores, and so too does Lofton. Vizquel stopping at second. A 2-run single for Cabrera. And it is 14-5 Seattle. All of those runs charged to Aaron Seeley.
An off-speed pitch, which you see a lot of front John Halama. Outer half of the plate. Extend those long arms. Go out and get it. The ball was elevated just enough that he could get it out of the infield. All Al Martin could do was come in, pick it up on a hop, and 5 runs scored tonight by the Cleveland Indians.
Eddie Taubensee came in as a pinch hitter for Juan Gonzalez in the 6th inning. And he takes a strike. Taubensee, he was the guy they traded for Kenny Lofton in the first place. That's a foul. Taubensee, over the years, has developed into a very dependable, power-hitting left-handed catcher. In 1991, Kenny Lofton and Dave Rohde were acquired for Eddie Taubensee and Willie Blair, which for a long time afterward looked like one of the most lopsided trades in a long, long time, when Lofton evolved into one of the great leadoff men in the game. Taubensee pops it up foul. Back out of play. Now they're together, teammates here in Cleveland.
Taubensee traded over from the Cincinnati Reds for Jim Brower. Guy that can come off the bench. He's got some pop, as you mentioned, but it's really Einar Diaz, his pitching staff. He's been handed the job as their everyday catcher when he's healthy.
Taubensee's had some injury problems this year as well. That's a foul. He had become a very dangerous power hitter with the Reds. And has just now been able to, I don't know, there's something about Cleveland that's haunted Taubensee. Taubensee had 21 homers and a .311 batting average the year before last in Cincinnati. Had the disc problems last year. Put him on the shelf for a long while. Shallow center, Mike Cameron, and the inning is over. 3 runs for Cleveland. We go to the 8th inning.
August 5th, a Cleveland comeback for the ages, right here on ESPN Classic.
We're in Cleveland. There's the Terminal Tower lit up at night. And Sunday Night Baseball presented by Nextel. The Mariners leading 14-5. Here in Cleveland, there's the Terrace Restaurant, and the look from inside at the action from the beautiful restaurant here at Jacobs Field. That's the look from the outside looking in. Jim Thome against John Halama. Thome launched his 35th home run of the year back in the 4th inning. 2-run shot. 418 feet was the estimate of the distance it carried. And that is a little bit high. Ball 2. Now, Thome has a 15-year-old nephew named Brandon, who was partially paralyzed in a diving accident this summer. When the Indians went to Chicago to Comiskey Park to play, Brandon came out to the ballgame, and he asked his Uncle Jim not only if he just hit him a home run that night, he says, since I'm out here to watch you personally, if he could hit me 2 home runs. 2? And Jim told him that might be a little far-fetched. And then he went out and hit 2 home runs. Deep into left field. And that one is gone. He's hit 2 home runs tonight. Number 36. Over the big wall, the opposite field. So for the fans who are still here, Jim Thome has giving them some entertainment. 2 more homers for the league's leading home run slugger.
His average over 300 now. The first home run he hit in the bottom of the 4th inning, he pulled the baseball. Jim says the reason I'm streaky and I get myself out is because I become too pull conscious. In the next at bat, the bottom of the 6th, he pulled off a breaking ball and struck out. Well, what does he do? He makes an adjustment. He stays within himself. He drives the ball to the opposite field. And because of his tremendous power, not just a single the other way, another home run.
And that one got Russell Branyan, who homered his last time. 14-6 is the score now. Seattle, as Branyan will go to first base. From the blimp, here's that home run. Well, Thome had the 2 home runs requested by his nephew Brandon. Maybe Brandon's looking in tonight. Maybe Uncle Jim delivered again for Brandon tonight. But Thome said the thrill for him of the year was hitting those 2 homers in Chicago and seeing his cousin Brandon in the stands with a big smile on his face.
You know, there's not a better human being in our game of baseball than Jim Thome. Constantly over the holidays, he'll dress up at Santa. Spends a lot of his own money buying kids that normally wouldn't receive a lot of gifts during the holidays.
Cordova deep into left center, and that one is gone. Well, is it too late for all of this? The Cleveland Indians erupting now against Halama. That's their 4th home run of the night. And a game that was 14-2 is now 14-8.
Well, as far as winning the game, yeah, it's probably too late because of the guys Lou Piniella has in his bullpen. But as far as providing excitement for the fans still on hand here tonight, it's not. What a year Cordova is having. And then the spring training, happened to make the ball club, constantly kept hitting the ball hard, made the club, and all of a sudden now he's still hitting the baseball hard, playing a lot, hitting over 300, 13 homers on the year, now well over 50 RBIs.
So Marty Cordova with his home run makes it 14-8. Brian Price, the Mariners pitching coach, out to the mound to talk to John Halama as Norm Charlton starts to warm up in the Seattle bullpen. I think the plan was for Halama to come in and just go the rest of the way and give the rest of the bullpenners a night off. But Cleveland got the long ball speaking here in the 8th inning. It kind of looks like the old days here at Jacobs Field.
You just look at all of the teams that won today in baseball that did not score 8 runs. And it shows you how important it is for Cleveland to get their starting pitching back together again. A healthy Chuck Finley.
Will Cordero up the middle, but there is Guillen cutting across, and he makes a very nice pickup on a real bad hop, and he throws out Cordero. So there is 1 away in the Cleveland 8th inning. Meanwhile, out in L.A. on ESPN2, it's the Cubs and Dodgers for an update. Here's Brent Musburger.
So it's the bottom of the 8th. The Dodgers lead the Cubs 2-1, and Gary Sheffield on against Farnsworth. He goes over to first base. Already Farnsworth has been registered at 99 miles an hour on a gun. Sosa will bat in the 9th. Let's go back now to John Miller.
We've got some excitement out there in Dodger Stadium. A tight ball game, 2-1 L.A. The Dodgers' Matt Hergis got out of a bases-loaded jam in the top of the 8th inning of that game, giving Matt Stairs to pop out. They can stay within a run. They got Sammy coming up there in the ball game. Here is Einar Diaz fouling one back against Halama. 0-1 the count. Bartolo Colon on the left side. Now he pitched, as he said, his best game of the year Friday night, but lost to the Mariners 2-1. There's Chuck Finley on the right, whom they are expecting back on Thursday in their series against Minnesota upcoming. 1-2 to count. Slowly toward third. Bell was deep. Brilliant effort, acrobatically made, but it proved futile as Diaz easily beat it out.
Diaz is one of the better running catchers in baseball, and had he not been, this would have been a web gem on Baseball Tonight by David Bell. Look at the effort. Look at him coming. He doesn't care about whether he gets an error or not. I'm going to do everything I can to try to get the second out here in this inning. My pitcher's struggling. You know, there's so many numbers that go up for the Seattle Mariners on the scoreboard, but that one area that very seldom gets any movement is under the category of errors.
Here's Kenny Lofton over the middle and just past Guillen. So maybe the coaching efforts of Roberto Alomar pay an immediate dividend for Kenny Lofton, his second hit of the game.
Well, that's exactly what Roberto Alomar is talking about. Keep the ball out of the air. Hit it on the line or hit it on the ground. He elevated his hands a little bit. He got a little bit more of the baseball solid.
And that brought Luke Inning. 3 runs in, 2 men on, and 1 man out. And Cleveland, which at one point trailed 14-2 going into the 7th, now trailing 14-8. Need a calculator to determine how many hits they need to all of a sudden actually be in the game. But at least it's part of the discussion now. 2 men on, Einar Diaz at second base, Kenny Lofton first base. John Halama faced 8 hitters and only got 2 of them out. He gave up 5 hits, 3 runs. He also hit a batter and is responsible for those 2 men out there. Vizquel 1 for 3 with a walk. Fastball down and away. There is Nico Vizquel, the young son of Omar Vizquel, who is the bat boy tonight for Cleveland. Watching Dad at work.
A little bit more intent watching this at bat than the others, isn't it?
It's a called strike on the outside. And Nolan Charlton, for a grizzled, well-traveled veteran, got some stuff.
This is a great story here, and their pitching coach Brian Price deserves a lot of the credit. Charlton was released by Tampa Bay. That tells you what was going on with his career.
Along the right field line, dropping quickly, base hit. Diaz comes around to score. Lofton stops at third. A double for Vizquel. And here in Cleveland, they're starting to get excited. It is 14-9 Mariners.
And Nico quickly out to grab that bat that had an RBI and a double in it for his dad. Perfectly placed down the right field line. And Vizquel doing a terrific job watching what happens to the ball. When he sees the right fielder have trouble with it, he continues to go into second base. There's a veteran bat boy telling him, hold on, wait till the run scores. Now go out and grab the piece of wood.
Now, things would be a little more promising for Cleveland if Roberto Alomar and Juan Gonzalez and Ellis Burks were still in the lineup. But now here is Cabrera in Alomar's spot with Traubenzie in Gonzalez's spot on deck. But nonetheless, if they get Jim Thome up in this inning, he could be the tying run of the game. I mean, he's not due up for a while. But if he gets up, and I'm just, you know, thinking ahead here. John Halama, who just had a miserable night, 2/3 of an inning, and he's been charged with 4 runs so far.
He has pitched decent out of the bullpen this year, but he's a lot more better suited to be a starting pitcher. And that showed up tonight. Just did not have command.
1-1 to Cabrera. He is 1 for 2 since he came into the game. Slider in the dirt, breaking from third for the plate. Lofton, and he is out. 5 runs down, and Lofton took a huge gamble. Only a good play if he made it.
Boy, you just don't expect to see this out of Kenny Lofton. He hesitated. Stay right there. Charlton doing what he can do. Lampkin with a nice job getting there. Lofton trying to avoid the tag, not able to do that. And just a bad baseball play on the part of a guy that normally does not make mistakes like that.
Kenny Lofton, the veteran, and having a bad year, maybe trying a little bit too hard as the split-fingered pitch from Charlton gets the strikeout of Cabrera, and it all comes undone almost as quickly as it got promising. 4 runs in. I mean, the crowd is electric, and a lot of excitement in that ballpark. Here's Jeff. Now look at those numbers. Is that ridiculous? 46 innings. Actually, we're not even showing his hits allowed, but his batting average against, he's only allowed 18 hits in 46 innings. I've never heard of such a thing.
And there's more good numbers we could put up if there were just more room on that board. Nelson's just too big. He takes up too much space. He's been outstanding this year with coming in with runners on base, leaving them there. He's inherited 31 runners. 28 of them have not scored.
Ooh.
He's been terrific in the first hitter faced. 49 times that he's come into a ball game. 40 times the first guy he's gotten out.
Well, and the same on the second guy and the third guy and the fourth guy, right? I mean, he leaves them on base because nobody ever gets a hit against him. 46 innings, 18 hits allowed. I mean, that'd be like, if you put that into 9-inning increments, what's that? He's given up 2 hits, 3.5 hits every 9 innings pitched.
You know, Lou Piniella deserves some credit for that as well, for bringing him in to face right-handed hitter. His slider just dominates guys from that side of the plate. If it's a left-hander that would have been coming to home, Piniella would have had Arthur Rhodes up.
Here's Cordero. Here's that slider down and away for ball 1. Now, we're singing his praises, and they're well earned, but Nelson did give up a run in the game on Friday. Gave up a run. I mean, it scored on a ground out. It wasn't overly impressive, but one of the few he's given out. Fastball. That is up and away. Now, you might be asking, well, how come Charlie Manuel doesn't send up a left-handed hitter since he's so mean to the right-handers? Well, Charlie emptied out his bench when the score was 14-2 to give some of his regulars a little bit of a breather in a blowout. Who knew? That's a called strike in the outside. 2-1 the count. The biggest deficit in Major League history that a team overcame to win a game was 12 runs. That was 1911. Detroit, down by 12 to the White Sox, came back to beat them 16-50. It's not happened since, and that's been 90 years. 3-1. Einar Diaz, the catcher, is on deck. Actually, it's happened twice. Cleveland blew a 12-run lead at 1925 to the Athletics and lost the game 17-50.
1911 and 1925. Huh?
3-2 the count. It hasn't happened actually since 1925. Although this weekend was the anniversary of the game back in the 20s or the 30s, where Cleveland got 9 runs in the 9th inning against the Yankees with 2 down and nobody out in New York to win a game. Slider just a bit high, and the bases are loaded. Mickey Nelson saw a lot of pitches, giving him a workout. They've got another game against each other tomorrow here in Cleveland.
Charlie Manuel has to be proud of his ball club. Proud that Cordero took that pitch just out of the strike zone, but his team has battled back to get the tying run on the on-deck circle.
And Brian Price on the phone to the bullpen. So here's Einar Diaz, who had a single and a run scored in the 7th, an infield single and a run scored in the 8th. Way outside, ball 1. So Diaz gets on. Kenny Lofton would become the possible tying run of the game. And the Seattle bullpen is up again.
You know how bad Kenny Lofton wants to get to home plate tonight. It was a misplayed fly ball that started the scoring for the Seattle Mariners tonight. It was a bad judgment on a base running play that ended the scoring in the last inning for Cleveland.
2-0. And Nelson, the one blip on the screen for him this year is that he does walk a lot of people. 29 walks in 46 innings, including the one that he just issued
to Cordero, and now Price out to the mound. You've got Sasaki. This is already a rule book save situation. Nelson did not inherit it. It has become a save situation because of his walk to Cordero. And the save situation is that the possible tying run is either at the plate or on deck. The possible tying run at the moment is on deck. Nelson cannot get a save, but Sasaki could, which would be sort of a small victory for Cleveland if they got him into the game on a night where they were down by 12.
I don't think Nelson or Sasaki even had their spikes laced up.
That's a strike. 2-1. 3 men on. Taubensee at third base. Cordova, who's had 4 hits tonight, at second. And Cordero at first. 2 down in the 9th inning. 14-9. Seattle ahead. And there's ball 3. Nelson is 1 pitch out of the strike zone away from bringing the possible tying run to the plate. And Lou Piniella said, wait a minute. These are like the bad old days. This is the way that it used to be with our bullpen here. 3-1 the count. Popped up, foul, and out of play. Full count, so now all of the runners can take off. Crazy night at Jacobs Field. It got out of control early for Cleveland as Seattle built a 12-0 lead in the 3rd inning. Well, he helped him out a little bit, Rick.
He did. I was a little bit surprised that Take was not on there, knowing the tying run is in the on-deck circle, not at home plate as of yet.
Einar Diaz hitting .303. There go the runners. Line drive, base hit. Taubensee scores. Cordova scores. Cordero stops at second. And now Kenny Lofton will come up as the possible tying run. It is 14-11. A game the Mariners led as late as the 7th inning, 14-2. And now Sasaki will get the call.
A lot of people that started their night here at the ballpark left early when their team fell behind, wishing right now they were still in the ballpark because the fans that are here are on their feet and excited.
Kazu Sasaki in for the bullpen. There is Kazu Sasaki, Daimajin, which means giant man or giant hero of a man that saves the people. 300 career saves in both Japan and the United States. Lifetime, when you combine the two, 35 saves this year. And he has been the Mariners version of Mariano Rivera. And Kenny Lofton is coming up against Sasaki. It's been a tough night for Lofton. The 4-run 2nd inning began with 1 out on this drive descended by Martin, which Lofton initially misjudged, then played into a double, and then this ill-advised dash from home to the plate in the 8th inning for the final out of that inning with the score 14-9. But he gets another chance to do something great to help the Cleveland Indians. 2 men on, 2 men out. Ooh, got the call to the outside. Looked like it was a little bit off the corner. There is Cordero at second. Einar Diaz, who's had 3 hits, all of them in these last 3 innings when the Indians have scored 9 runs. Jeff Nelson faced 2 hitters, walked 1, gave up a 2-run single to the other. Through 12 pitches when he was in there.
Cleveland's hit 4 home runs tonight. They need 1 more. Lofton's hit 7. Sasaki has allowed 6.
I mean, and somewhere tonight, Sasaki may well have checked out of this game mentally, right? 14-2 in the 7th inning.
Well, it really looked like Jeff Nelson had. That's not the Nelson that we've seen the last 4 or 5 years.
Base hit! And the bases are loaded. Cordero stops at third, and now Omar Vizquel will come up. And the possible tying runs are all on base.
including Lofton, a fast runner at first who is the possible tying run.
And the key to this comeback might have been the conversation Robbie Alomar had with Kenny Lofton, because since that conversation, Lofton has gotten 2 straight hits. He is the tying run on at first base. We know he has speed, and the go-ahead run is at home plate.
Well, there, you saw Lofton knowing who he is, even though he's had a bad night, not trying to get out of his normal game. He's not a home run hitter. He hits them occasionally, but usually by accident. A clean single to left. And here's Vizquel. He's had 2 hits tonight, including an RBI double in the 8th inning. 1-1. Changed up on him. Nico Vizquel, the young son of Omar.
A little bit surprised that Charles Gibson is so shallow in right field.
The ball gets over his head. This game will be tied. Too low. Sasaki's got a great split finger pitch. That's his out pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike to Vizquel, who is 1 for 2 in his career against Sasaki. And that Mariners bullpen, the top bullpen in the game. 6 runs allowed tonight, and 3 base runners here. He chased the splitter. 1 and 2.
Sasaki is so in control of his emotions. This crowd can get as loud as they want. You can bang on that drum all you want. But he has been in these tough spots many, many times before and succeeded in most of them.
In a game they were trailing by 12, the fans who are still here on their feet, hoping for a 9th inning miracle. They're down to their final strike. And back to the splitter, but this time Vizquel once fooled, not twice. 2 and 2. It wasn't supposed to have been this way for Lou Piniella. Not with a 12-run lead in the 7th inning. Not for the team with the best record in baseball. Fastball. Tried to sneak one by him, but it was a little bit low. I mean, he snuck it by him, but just a little bit low. 3 and 2 the count, and now they'll all be running. And Lofton, the possible time run at first, to get those extra few steps. So on an extra base hit, he could much more easily score the tying run of the game. Cordero, Diaz, and Lofton, there they go. Got a piece of it to stay alive. Colbert Cabrera would be next. In the history of Major League Baseball, a walk-off grand slam, so-called, as we call it on SportsCenter, with 2 down and the team trailing by 3, has occurred 13 times. But it also occurred last week in Pittsburgh when Brian Giles did it against Houston.
Billy Wagner.
There go the runners. And he lunges at it, popping it foul out of play, continuing the battle still further with Sasaki. Cordero back to 3rd, Diaz back to 2nd, Lofton back to 1st. Lofton got a huge jump. I mean, it is critical for Lofton here to get absolutely as big a jump as he can, with this advantage of being able to run. 14 to 11 Mariners. 3 on, 2 out. The runners go. Down the line. It's headed into the corner. 1 run is in. And it goes through. They have tied the game. Vizquel to 3rd. It's 14 to 14. Unbelievable. They have come back from a 12-run deficit and tied the game. Now they can go for the win. And they are delirious in downtown Cleveland.
You talk about turning moments during the course of the season. This could be one right here. Why were they not guarding the line defensively at first base? Why was Charles Gibson not playing deeper in right field? Hard to understand, but because of both of those things, we're right back where we started with a tie ball game.
Now, Sasaki, as Nico Vizquel watches his dad perform as the hero. There's the bluff of a bunt by Cabrera. And it is ball one. Cabrera is up in Roberto Alomar's spot in the order. Kenny Lofton has scored the tying run. And now Sasaki, whose team once led by 12, is trying to send this into extra innings. Vizquel bluffs down the line from third, trying to distract Sasaki.
And he almost got a balk called there. Third base coach Joel Skinner was screaming at third base umpire Mike Everett.
Too low. 2-0 the count. Eddie Taubensee, who started the inning with a single, is on deck. It has been 76 years since any major league team came from a 12-run deficit to win a game. That happened at the expense of the Cleveland Indians. 2-0 the count. 3-0. So we have seen an historic game tonight. And not many people who are still living have ever seen anything like this. A team overcoming a 12-run deficit, and Cleveland has done it all in the last 3 innings of this game. They were down by 12 going into the 7th inning. Again, Vizquel bluffing down the line from third, trying to distract Sasaki. 3-0 the count. Bluffing the bunt, taking the strike.
Sure, did that all on his own. Base coach Joel Skinner gave him the green light. You see something you like, take a swing at it.
Norm Charlton charged with the first 2 runs of this inning. Jeff Nelson charged with 2 runs in this inning. 3-1 the count. Down to third, David Bell. And a little bit high and wide, but saved over there by Sprague. The Cleveland Indians get 3 in the 7th, 4 in the 8th, and then, incredibly, 5 in the 9th inning. And for the Seattle Mariners, Carlos Guillen, David Bell, and Tom Lampkin due up the last third of the batting order. See Rocker's overall numbers for the year. And he got roughed up a couple of times here after coming to Cleveland, enough so that he lost the job that he was handed when he first arrived as the closer.
Well, the biggest thing that Bobby Cox got frustrated with the inconsistency with Rocker as his closer, was the fact that it seemed like almost every at-bat was a 5 or 6 pitch at-bat. Rocker's got a straight fastball. He's got a big breaking slider. It's not like Bob Wickman with the sinking fastball, or Mariano Rivera, Jeff Shaw with the cutter, where they throw a couple of pitches, it gets put in play, and you have easy outs. Seems like everything that Rocker does is tough to do.
Strike called to the inside to Guillen. Guillen, a switch hitter, batting right-handed. He is 1 for 5 in the game. His one hit was a big one, a 2-run single back in the 3rd inning. It made the score 8-0 Seattle. Mariners on their way to a 12-0 lead in the 3rd inning. 14-0 by the 5th, or 14-2 rather by the 5th inning. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now, in those first 5 innings, the Mariners had 14 runs and 14 hits, but in the last 5 innings, no runs and 3 hits. While the Cleveland Indians scored 12 runs and 13 hits in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning for this game. Back to him with a slider. Nice pitch. strike two. The notorious John Rocker, but no hitter is ever happy to see John Rucker coming into the game.
Any left-handers, you know, that throw 98 miles an hour like he does.
Struck him out, a ball in the dirt. Diaz steps out, throws him out at first. Man, that was a nasty pitch.
Especially when you set it up with the fastball he did on the inside corner. At that point right there, you're not sure what it is. And by the time you commit to it possibly being a fastball, then you see the rotation. You're well out in front, and an easy first out for John Rocker.
Now David Bell. Bell, like his colleague Guillen, facing John Rocker for the first time in his career right here. Strike. Again, easing one through there, a breaking ball. Now on deck, instead of Tom Lampkin, Brett Boone, who was the Mariners' home run and RBI leader. He has come out and apparently will bat for Lampkin.
That is going to empty every player Lou Piniella has tonight, because Wilson will come in to catch. If Boone hits, Paniagua will probably come out to pitch. And that's it.
It's the full complement other than starting pitchers. And of course, Charlie Manuel long ago emptied out his bench. He's got 12 pitchers, or only a 4-man bench, and he used all of them up early on. I mean, and in that regard, there hadn't been a whole lot of managing by either manager, because both managers started taking out their star players when it was a blowout, and giving some of their regulars the rest of the night off. Charlie Manuel has made some pitching changes and done a lot of cheerleading. 2-1 the count to Bell. And maybe some of that strategy is overrated. I mean, he couldn't put in his lefties or righties or match up or whatever. Or he only had what he had. Well, you see, Branyan came in the 5th inning. Jauvency in the 6th inning. Cabrera in the 6th inning. Cordero in the 6th inning. They made the whole comeback without Roberto Alomar, Juan Gonzalez, Ellis Burks, or Travis Fryman. 3-2 to David Bell.
Well, you can just see once again right here, so many pitches for John Rocker every time out. You just don't know how long he's going to be able to continue to throw with this effort, that kind of velocity. Look at the maximum effort right here. You got a 3-1 count. You got a right-hander at home plate. Take a little off, turn it over on the outer half of the plate, get you a ground ball, and you can do it for 10 or 12 years.
Three and 2 to count to David Bell. 1 out, nobody on. A little out of play. Now Bell's got a little bit of power. You make a mistake with him, he can hurt you. He's got 11 home runs.
You know, he gets most of those homers against young pitchers or pitchers that have patterns. You know, a guy that'll throw a first pitch fastball, or a guy with 2 strikes is going to throw a breaking ball. You know, he's been in baseball his whole life. It's been passed down through generations in the Bell family, and he knows the game.
He did hit a dramatic home run in the 9th inning of the first game after the All-Star break at Safeco Field against Rob Nen. His club was down to its final out, and he homered to tie the game in the 9th against them, and they won it in extra innings. Struck him out with the slider. 2 down. Rocker has struck out 2 in a row, and now All-Star, the league's leading RBI man, Brett Boone, coming up.
Really a gutsy pitch right here on the part of John Rocker, trying to backdoor it to the outside corner, just off the outer half of the plate, but far too close for David Bell to take. And the big second out here on the top of the 11th. Well, you knew Brett Boone had to play in a ball game in which Seattle got 17 hits and scored 14 runs. You knew they couldn't do that without him.
14 runs without the leading RBI man. Red Boone hitting .329. It's not just the RBIs, just the home run. I mean, that batting average is 60 or 70 points where you normally would expect it with Boone. On the outside with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. 0-1. Now, Boone has seen Rocker in the past. In fact, they were teammates a couple of years back in Atlanta. Boone has only faced him twice in a big league game and is 0 for 2 against him. Dan Wilson has come out on deck. Gibson due up next. 2 down, 11th inning. Strike 2. And the man whose control often deserts him has made 2 perfect pitches right on the outside corner.
That last one at 98 miles an hour.
He just struck out Bell with an 80-mile-an-hour slider or curveball, whatever it was. Well, we got that one at a cool 100. Just a bit outside.
You could hear John Rocker from upstairs. We don't need those microphones down on the field. He was trying to throw that baseball through the catcher, not to him.
One and 2 to Boone. Staying hard. That's a foul. Now Boone said before the game, one of the things he's most proud of is his 2-strike hitting this year, the best he's ever had in his career. That's what you were talking about.
That's also what I'm talking about with how many pitches it takes. It could possibly be a 1-2-3 inning, but already 15 pitches. This will be the 16th. That's a lot when you're going to expect a guy to come back and maybe pitch tomorrow night or the night after.
Now he tries the slider but misses. 2-2 the count. Well, Jennifer Capriati in the women's tournament recently was complaining that Monica Seles, because she grunted so hard on her serves and her volleys, that in and of itself was a distraction and should not be allowed.
Cotton. Put some cotton in your ears.
Slider got him swinging. Rocker strikes out the side. And again, Cleveland will try and win it. Einar Diaz, Kenny Lofton, and Omar Vizquel coming up. 14 to Sunday Night Baseball. The Mariners 14, the Cleveland Indians 14, last of the 11th. Still going in Cleveland. The reports of the death of the Indians tonight was greatly exaggerated, apparently. Jose Paniagua, the new pitcher for the Mariners, the 7th Mariners pitcher of the night.
And the only thing pitching coach Brian Price could tell Jose Paniagua is, I don't know if you're going to win this game or I don't know if you're going to lose it, but you're going to complete it because you're it.
A few other changes in the field now with a new catcher, new second baseman, a new alignment in the outfield behind Paniagua. Einar Diaz, who is 3 for 5, will lead off against Paniagua.
Diaz had to feel a little bit left out. He singled and scored in the 7th, did the same in the 8th and the 9th. Did not hit in the 10th.
Popped up by Diaz, who had 3 hits in those 3 late rallies. 1 in each inning, but Guillen grabs it, and there is 1 away. Red Boone stays in to play second base. After pinch hitting for Lampkin, the catcher, Dan Wilson comes in to catch. Charles Gibson stays in the ball game in right field, but Mark McLemore has moved out to left field from second base. Al Martin leaves the game. That's where Wilson will hit. Here's Kenny Lofton. They brought in Sasaki to face him with 2 on and 2 out in the 9th inning. And Lofton kept the Indians alive with a single to left, and then later scored the tying run on the triple by Vizquel. And he is on base again. It's the 4th time in these late innings that he has reached base.
Here's what happened earlier in the ball game. Watch him come underneath that and the easy pop up to the third baseman. The assistant hitting coach for the Cleveland Indians, Robbie Alomar, talking to him about his hand. You've got to stay on top of the baseball. Even though that ball was down, he was able to get on top of it, hit the ball on the line, as he has done the last 3 times.
Omar Vizquel. In the first inning tonight, Lofton led off with a single and never even attempted a move to second base. In another spot now where a base stolen could help end this game. But you got Dan Wilson now behind the plate, who's very strong at throwing out base stealers. But again, as we were told before the game, Lofton rarely runs right now. Only 11 steals all year. He's been thrown out 8 times. 2-0 to Vizquel. Vizquel in the 7th inning drew a walk. That was the end of Aaron Seeley, the starter. In the 8th inning, he doubled home a run. That made it 14-9. In the 9th inning, he hit the 2-out, 2-strike triple that tied the game. Lofton back to first.
Just needing a home run for the cycle, Omar Vizquel. With a lot of guys, that triple is going to be the toughest one to get. But Omar with just 1 home run on the year.
Well, when Omar hit a triple down by 3 with 2 down in the 9th, anything's easy from here on. He gets a base hit. Lofton will hold. Gibson has got a real strong arm. Charged that one very aggressively. And Omar has been something else, as has Lofton in these late innings. I mean, both of them have been on base 4 times, starting with that 7th inning rally.
You know, it almost looked like the stop sign was on for Kenny Lofton because he never attempted to run. Had he stolen second base, this base hit by Omar Vizquel could have ended the ball game. But, you know, in a game of baseball, you try to work the percentages in your favor. And with 11 stolen bases, 8 times being caught stealing, that's not a very good percentage if you're manager Charlie Manuel.
So now here is Jose Cabrera against Jose Paniagua. Cleveland has 22 hits, 16 of them in the last 4 1/3 innings. And one more here could make them a winner. And there it is, base hit. McLemore charges. Here comes Lofton. Here comes the throw. Cleve, and Cleveland has won it.
Every other game this year has been for Kenny Lofton, not going his way, but a conversation with Robbie Alomar got him on base in his last 4 at-bats and eventually leads to him scoring the winning run for Cleveland.
And we have seen history at Jacobs Field tonight. This base hit by Cabrera on a broken bat, no less. And Kenny Lofton, he needed every bit of his speed to beat this throw by McLemore, and he just barely did. He got stepped on for his trouble. And we have seen something that had happened only 2 other times in more than 100 years of Major League Baseball. A team coming from a 12-run deficit to win a game. And the first time in 76 years since it happened against the Cleveland Indians. And they get their revenge 76 years later. Kenny Lofton, who looked like the GOAT more than once tonight, he scored the tying run in the 9th inning, and he scores the winning run in the 11th inning. And he's been around a long time, but he has not had that much joy in a ball field, I think, in a long, long time. The Cleveland Indians had lost 6 of 7 and were buried in this one. But incredibly, they have come back to win it. Omar Vizquel, a heroic night, and he is standing by with Alvaro Martin.
Omar, you've seen a lot of baseball in your life. Have you seen anything like it?
Well, you know, I remember a game like in 97 or 98 that it came back losing by 10 runs, kind of like similar game like this. They start taking everybody out, and we start playing with some people that were coming from the bench, but we never give up. You know, we keep playing hard. We took some pitches and got some key base hits in the game today, and that was big for us today.
Now, you made the error earlier in the game, then you put a towel with ice on your head, and then you had two great hits. What's the feeling now for the team facing Minnesota in the rest of the season?
Well, you know, we look at the scoreboard, and, you know, Minnesota got a loss today. We really wanted it to win today, but, you know, the Seattle Mariners are a team that are hitting the ball real well, and they're doing the little things. And when they went ahead by 8, 10 runs, you know, we kind of look at each other's face and say, well, today is not going to be the day. But then, you know, little by little, we start building up, and, you know, it was a great win.
Okay, congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, man.
Well, that may only happen once in a lifetime, and maybe less than that. It happened here in our lifetime tonight on Sunday Night Baseball. The Seattle Mariners, the team with the best record in the majors.